Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Everything We Love About Disney, the Disney podcast with a description in the name because it's where we talk about everything we love about Disney. I am your host, Tommy T, along with my co-host, who happens to be my wife, Gina. Gina, thank you for being here with me once again.
Of course, thank you. Hi, everybody.
It's been a minute since we did a show, but we're excited to get into this one. We'll just jump right into it, I think. I don't really want to delay any further. So today's episode is all about the bars and lounges of Walt Disney World. As we've grown older, it's become a bit of a pastime to experience not just the family-friendly sides of Disney, but some of the, more adult-driven things that they have to offer, and those being these bars and lounges that have really come into prominence over the past decade or so. I think they used to be less common or harder to find, and now you see them all over the place. So when I say Disney bars and lounges, Gina, what's the appeal there for you, and what do you enjoy about that experience that they're offering?
Sure. So I think to start, Tommy and I are two millennials who grew up going to Walt Disney World, and like he said, now that we're a little bit older, we're in our 30s now, we don't have kids yet, and so while we might as well enjoy the parks, just the two of us. It's a total blast. And one of the ways that we like to just take a rest and, take a minute from just running around the parks and just relax. I think we're in a good position to do that. While we don't have kids, I know when you have big gatherings, it can be a little difficult, a little squirmy maybe to accomplish this, but that's why they have the beer carts in the parks where you can just kind of walk around and enjoy a beverage and not have to worry about being seated for too long. But for us, we really enjoy that. And I think for so many years, we did run around for a long time and certainly still do that to a certain extent, but we really love just slowing down too. And I think the bars and lounges are a really great place to do that. And so I'm really excited to talk about some of our favorite spots because each ambiance I think is very unique and very different, very special. Of course, that's why we love Disney because all the parks are that way, all the hotels are the resorts are that way. So let's jump in.
Just to go off that, you hit on so many good points. One being that the millennials, I think in the past, it wasn't as common for 20-somethings to go, like the quote-unquote childless millennials. I don't think it was as common for our age group to go without children back in the day. And now that we grew up going, and now that we are going as adults, it's kind of what opened the door for these bars and lounges to exist, and kind of set up Disney to say, hey, we should take these things to the next level. So I want to knock out two that definitely take things to the next level, and I'm gonna go by them pretty quickly because we've talked about these on past episodes, those being Trader Sam's at the Polynesian and Nomad Lounge at Animal Kingdom, which is attached to the Tiffin's restaurant. Go back and listen to those episodes. We did a Tiffin's and Nomad episode and a Polynesian episode where we went into more detail, so I don't want to rehash too much of that, but those I think would be at the top of both of our lists, or towards the top anyway. Nomad being what you were saying, a perfect spot to get away from the crowds and the heat and the madness of Animal Kingdom, and the Polynesian to be just a super fun escape and night out. The interactivity, the theming, the drinks, it's just pure fun and joy there. So anything you want to add about those two?
No, just to say that those are probably our favorites. Heavily themed, yes. Really fun. You could just spend lots of time there and watch the world go by, literally.
Yes. So go listen to those episodes for more thoughts on that. So we'll move past those now for some other bars and lounges. So Gina, what do you want to start with? We're not really ranking anything this time. We're just going to kind of go back and forth on some favorites. So what do you got?
I'm going to start with the lounge that really changed my perspective on the concept of bars and lounges in the park specifically. I'll be honest, I was kind of anti-bar for a long time because I just thought like, it's just adults trying to get away. But truly, that is the beauty of it. And so, after one of our Run Disney races, this bar had just recently opened up in Hollywood Studios. Mm-hmm. It's called Baseline Tap House.
Oh,
And
yes.
I think it is very underrated because I think it's a prime spot right before the entrance to Batu, which now I think it may be even more overlooked. But if you're looking for a place to relax, again, after a race, it was the marathon weekend. It had just opened. We got there at 11 a.m. when it opened. We got ourselves a couple beers. The menu is catered more towards like a California theme. So a lot of the brews on tap are California breweries.
I think almost all of them, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
try to, because it is playing, that area is playing very much into the California theme. So I think just about all the beers and wines are usually California.
Right. So we got ourselves 2 large beers and a cheese charcuterie plate and a big pretzel, and we just sat under a shady umbrella outside, and we just watched people come and go, and it was really pleasant.
It is a great spot to just relax, to people watch. The music is really cool. It's funny. You'll sit down, you'll be like, oh, it's just some elevator music, some background music, and then you'll start to realize like, oh, these are like lounge covers of hit pop songs.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So it'll be like whatever it is. It'll be a Madonna song, a Beatles song, a Adele song, whoever.
Coldplay even.
Right, U2, like just all of these like top 40 songs being covered in like a lounge style.
Yeah, like jazzy, smooth,
Yep.
elevator music almost.
Yeah.
You could miss it without even...
Right. All of a sudden you'll just hear a lyric or a melody, be like, wait, I know that.
Right. How do I know this?
It's always fun to figure out what the next song is as it comes on, and just, like Gina said, the charcuterie is amazing, the pretzel's amazing, and there's always a rotating draft of beers and wines to choose from. So it's a great spot.
That being said, I think it has been usurped in the way of Hollywood Studios bars, and I'm sure Tommy's going to go into it right now.
Yeah, let's go into it now, because here's the thing. Like, I don't think it's been usurped as far as a relaxation and a getaway and a nice, like, hey, let's stop for a beer kind of thing. But if you're willing to put in a little more work and do a little bit of more craziness, you can stop off at, of course, Oga's Cantina and Galaxy's Edge. I think that, again, sometimes you need a reservation to get in. Sometimes they're just kind of beckoning you in because it is a little lighter, and they're very...
Certainly in the morning.
Yeah, they're very agile there with, like, hey, we'll get people in as soon as the spot opens up. They're going to fill it somehow. So that was the first time we went, actually. We didn't have a reservation, but we went early for an early opening at Galaxy's Edge, and they were like, hey, open seating right now, like, just basically barkering people out outside just to come in. So, in the morning, you can get a couple of breakfast items they have there, and some coffee drinks, as well as some spiked coffee drinks or breakfast drinks.
Yeah, so that's what I appreciate about it, is that it is family friendly. And even though it is a bar, it's so heavily themed. You feel like you are in a Star Wars movie. But there are so many offerings that are non-alcoholic. There are a couple snacks. And so you feel like you can go there and there isn't an expectation that you need to belly up to the bar. In fact, they tell you where to sit just so that they can keep things flowing.
Yep, and you have like a dedicated waiter, whether you're at the bar or at one of the shared tables or wherever you are, even if you're just standing at, like, there's some standing spots, right?
Yep.
So wherever you are, you have a waiter that comes, or waiter or waitress that comes to you and takes your order. And like Gina was just saying, like, it's not about getting drunk or, like, having hard liquor. Like, it's not that kind of bar at all. So even if you are not a big drinker, or you're not old enough to drink, or whatever, or you just want to have like that one cocktail for your whole trip, or a non-alcoholic cocktail, like, it's about giving you that experience of being at the Cantina in a sci-fi movie, this being, of course, in the Star Wars universe. But you don't even need to appreciate Star Wars, I don't think.
No.
It helps, but just like, you don't have to be a huge tiki person to go to Trader Sam's. You don't have to be a big, Star Wars person to go to Oga's. You can still have fun. You could still see the DJ Rex animatronic. You could still see the weird creatures and decorations and things that are around, and experience the fun that goes along with that. And you can get yourself a Fuzzy Tauntaun, which is a non-alcoholic drink with the foam on it that makes your whole mouth tingle. So, and so, they really do theme every single piece of your experience there, and that's again, it makes it a hot ticket. It makes it sometimes a little crazy and crowded and loud, so it's not like true take a break material, but it is an experience in its own. So that's like, it's almost like the third attraction at Galaxy's Edge to me.
Right, and just like just like any attraction, there is a finite amount of time that you can experience this bar. So I think they give you 45 minutes.
Yeah, they might be changing that from time to time. I don't know, but early on, yeah, they were kind of like, hey, you get your 45 minutes, you get a couple drinks, maybe a snack, and
right,
then,
two drink maximum.
Yeah, so
which
again, who knows what happens after this when things open up.
Right.
But I don't know. We're gonna have to see what that looks like. I'm sure they're always changing. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I appreciate them doing that so that they can let as many people in as possible to experience it. But to Tommy's point, it's not a particularly relaxing experience.
Right. All right, so that was mine. So what is next on your list?
Yeah, so we're gonna move out of Hollywood Studios, and I would say, in the spirit of really relaxing environments, we're gonna head over to Wilderness Lodge. Tommy and I have been to the Territory Lounge, which is within the actual lodge itself, and that's a really nice, relaxing experience. It's certainly modest, it's not heavily themed, but it does the trick, especially if you're waiting for a reservation or if you just want to, relax and enjoy the Wilderness Lodge, which we love to do. We love to take a drive over there and experience that. So that's kind of like the backup lounge for me, because the last time we went, we experienced Geyser Point, and I just had such an amazing time there. We had perfect weather. Mm-hmm. It was afternoon. The sun was just about to set. It was still pretty light out, but the breeze coming off of the water was beautiful. It's an open air, there's a roof, but you're out in the open, essentially. Yep. And it was just so beautiful and peaceful, and I was so relaxed. I felt great. I
agree. I put both of these on my list as well. And yeah, it is, both those spots are great because of the high theming of the Wilderness Lodge itself. So even though the bar doesn't offer some crazy experience like Trader Sam's might or something, you still can make an evening easily. Like if you have an evening where you get in, you're like, hey, I don't want to burn a park ticket tonight, or like we just want to get away from the madness, I would suggest highly going over to Wilderness Lodge, walking around the grounds, taking it all in, going to the shops and stuff, and then getting a meal or a drink at either of these places. At Geyser Point, I had an excellent bison burger.
Yeah.
That was really good. The bartender essentially convinced me that I should get it, and he was absolutely right. So they got some good food at Territory Lounge as well. So like, again, we're talking about bars and lounges, but it's not just about pounding drinks. You can definitely just get a nice bite to eat without one of those coveted reservations. I mean, you don't need to reserve a huge, expensive, fancy meal every night. These are great options for that as well. So just something to take into account if you're just looking for different ways to do your Disney trips.
Right.
Cool. So let's see, where do I want to go next? I'm going to go here because I'm sure you probably left this off your list knowing it would be on mine. A few years ago, my family and I discovered a hidden gem of Walt Disney World. Gina knows where this is going. And that is the JellyRolls piano bar at the boardwalk. Again, this is not a relaxing thing, so we're going kind of ping-pong in between relaxing and more experiential things, which I like. For the uninitiated, JellyRolls, again, is a dueling piano bar that does requests only. So basically, you've got two grand pianos up on stage, and guests go up. They have napkins on each table with little pencils, and you write or pens, and you write down your request. Leave a little tip. Leave that on the piano up front, and the piano players basically go through the requests and play just about any song you could possibly think of. No chord charts, no lyrics, no nothing. They know these songs, and maybe once a night do I see them not know a song, and it's some like obscure like, oh, can you play this Brandy Carlisle B-side? And it's like, no, we can't do that. But other than that, any song you've ever heard on the radio or anything like that, they can play it cold, and it's really impressive. The harmonies they're bringing in, using the pianos as drums and tambourines and other bits that kind of are traditional, just JellyRolls gags and stuff, like request Rainbow Connection and see what happens. It's, there's fun little sing-alongs that they do. Of course, the whole night becomes a big sing-along with the whole crowd, and everybody becomes best friends by the end of the evening. And this is somewhere where you can spend easily 2 or 3 hours and just make a night out of it. It's a fun experience. You do need to be 21 to get in at all, right? I don't even think they let you in if you're not 21.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And there is a cover charge.
And there's a cover. It's probably one of the only places in all of Walt Disney World like this that has a cover of, I think, $12, which not super cheap. But again, you've got these performers that are working their butts off for you, and it's really dinner and a show. So I look at that and the tips as like you're paying for a show. It really is.
Yeah. They don't have food though. They have popcorn.
Free popcorn. So there, you get that. That's all. $12 goes to the free popcorn.
Yeah.
And that's mostly just to give you something salty so you stay thirsty and keep ordering drinks. But it does help after a couple of drinks to shovel some popcorn in your mouth. So something to keep in mind there. It is not somewhere to go for a nice drink if you're looking for something, a mixologist or a nice beer and wine selection. Do not go here.
This is very much a bottled beer and liquor kind of place. But there's a time and a place for that. And this is it.
Yeah, if you're there with like a bachelorette party, if you are, with a big group of people and you're kind of looking to like blow some steam off, like maybe even talking to each other nonstop for 3 days straight or something, and you're in a group of adults and you need to just, hey, let's have some fun and, get away from that dynamic. This is a great way to just like, hey, let's belt out some Bon Jovi and have a couple of drinks and that kind of experience.
It's really fun. Space is limited, so oftentimes if you get there a little bit later, there won't be any seats available, but you can always kind of hang in the back.
Especially post Epcot fireworks. A lot of people stay to Epcot or the studios till closing and then bolt right over to JellyRolls. So if you can get there before 9 or even better, like around 8 when they start playing, and you're guaranteed to get a decent seat. Anything after like 9:30, it starts to be standing room only, and you gotta get lucky to get a seat. So
right.
All right. So next up for you, what do you got?
Yeah, so I think the next one is another new bar. We're gonna head over to the Grand Floridian.
I'm glad I knew you were gonna put this one in because this is probably the only one here that you've been to and I haven't.
Right.
So take it away.
So I will start by saying that Tommy and I had very mixed feelings when we had heard the announcement of this bar opening, just because the Grand Floridian is a very special and sentimental place for Tommy and me, but more so him because his family would go any chance they could get. But this is the Enchanted Rose Bar in the Grand Floridian lobby on the second floor. It took the place of Meisner's Lounge, which, granted, was outdated. They had the sunken-in seats. It was difficult to find seats, and it could use a refurb. But the fact that they chose Beauty and the Beast as a theme for a turn-of-the-century Victorian seaside resort was a little... it made us scratch our heads a little bit, and it still kind of does, to be honest. But the way that they incorporated this bar, it is beautiful. From the chandelier, if you look straight underneath it, represents a gold rose theme, to the textures in the upholstery that they chose for the seats and the couches, to the wallpaper and the color scheme that they chose. It keeps it very bright. It's very modern and beautiful, but it also still has just a touch of, I would say, Rococo French design, which is in keeping with the more recent Beauty and the Beast theme. So it's very elegant. I would say that it does fit there to an extent. So I have a happy memory of attending or going to this bar because it was just after Tommy's sister and I got our hair done for Tommy and my rehearsal dinner for the wedding weekend. So we had just gotten our hair done at Senses Spa, and that was really lovely. And then we just had about an hour to kill, so we went to this new bar, which had just opened literally that weekend. So this is now the second bar that Tommy and I have been to where it like literally just opened. Well, at least me.
What was the other one?
Baseline was pretty new.
Baseline was very new. Yeah.
So we just happened to time these things correctly, but it was so fun to just go up to the bar, and my maid of honor joined us, and each of us had a glass of champagne, and we just felt so luxurious. So this is certainly the type of bar where if you're looking for something a little more fancy, high class, you want to be bougie, this is the place to do it. The menu's expensive, I will say, because it's French wines and French champagnes, and those outside of Walt Disney World are expensive. So, add the upcharge of Disney prices, and it's not cheap, but it's elegant. It's worth experiencing, and if you're a Beauty and the Beast fan, it's a must-do.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah, so I was obviously not there, so we did the next day do a little intrusion. I don't know, didn't we hop over? We didn't hop over, but like
it was closed
inside, and we kind of like took a quick peek inside, and yeah, it is beautiful. The theme still doesn't quite sit with me as well as I wish it did, but it is nice to have a new bar there, because like Gina was saying, the old one was just getting a little bit outdated, not fitting in with the rest of the sort of newer lounges that have been at the newer resorts. And that's going to transition me to my next one, actually, is another thing we went to that is very new, and we went there pretty soon after it opened, is at the new Grand Destino Tower at Coronado Springs.
Yes.
Has two very cool bars there. We only actually drank at one of them, which was the Barcelona Lounge on the ground, or even like sub-ground floor, sort of. It's sort of a split level when you walk into the lobby, and there's below the lobby level is the lounge. And I found this to be very relaxing and a nice way to get away. It's beautiful architecture. You just have to look up a picture of behind the bar, has this incredible mosaic style.
It's like stained glass that it's illuminated.
Yeah.
And it's meant to look like the Familia Sagrada.
Sagrada Familia, yeah.
Sagrada Familia from Barcelona.
So yeah, we had a great time there. Again, this was the night before that Enchanted Rose night, so we're just kind of like, this is our most recent trip. We got to do a lot of firsts for lounges, and I think we're just kind of running through a lot of those right now.
Yeah.
But it was just a great opportunity for us to do a lot of these types of things where we did want to take a minute and just have a beverage and relax from all the wedding planning and madness and family and things. So yeah, this is literally like the fourth or fifth one we brought up from that trip, but it just was like the perfect trip for this sort of thing. So I think you'll find opportunities for these sorts of getaway moments. And yeah, so the Barcelona Lounge there is in the lobby again, but still like you feel secluded. And then up at the top, we went and had dinner at what was the name of the restaurant?
I know it. So the Dahlia Lounge right next door.
Yeah, so I was going to mention the Dahlia Lounge, which we didn't actually drink at, but we walked through.
I would love to go to. That's on my list of places to go.
Great, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of the top of this place right now. It's,
I know, me too.
Well, I'll probably think of it in a moment, and right when you start talking, I'll probably think of it. But yeah, so there's a tapas place at the roof of the Grand Destino Tower, and kind of adjacent to that is the Dahlia Lounge, which, is a little bit more of a typical hotel bar. It has like TVs over the bar and stuff like that, but it also was a very relaxing environment, and you are on top of the Grand Destino Tower with an incredible view of Hollywood Studios, Toledo. I kept wanting to say Topolino, but Gina just looked up that it is Toledo, and those are confusing because they're both at New Disney Resorts on the top floor,
right,
overlooking Epcot and Studios. So yeah, you could see a lot from the top of Grand Destino, and just a beautiful spot to, again, take a minute to yourself and just enjoy the environment instead of running from thing to thing.
Right.
Cool. All right. Do you have a next one?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go into a bar that I have never actually had. I've eaten at the restaurant, but I've never sat at the bar, and that is California Grill at the Disney's Contemporary Resort.
I have this on my must try.
I have been to California Grill over a dozen times, I think, at this point, but I've never actually sat at the bar, and I think it's a great option for people who either can't get a reservation or, you know, you're a party of 2 adults and you just want to get up there and you want to experience the view and get in early. I'm sure it does get pretty backed up as the night goes on, especially those who want to catch a glimpse of the fireworks. I believe they have some kind of situation. I don't know how frequently they do this, but if you eat there at any given time, they do allow guests to come back to experience the fireworks. I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's great, because oftentimes what we would do in the past is really figure out what time the fireworks were at and then try to get a reservation that went around that so that you could have the perfect table, the perfect viewing spot. Really, viewing the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary is probably my favorite way to experience it.
I'm going to piggyback on that and also add Top of the World Lounge to this because it's very similar experiences there. Top of the World Lounge is, of course, on top of the Bay Lake Tower, so the other part of the Contemporary. If you know, the A-frame building is where the California Grill is, and you have that kind of C-shaped building. You know, the curved building is the Bay Lake Tower. And you do need to be a DVC member or be with a DVC member to get up there. And the line to get just into the elevator about half an hour before the fireworks will be long, so make sure to get there about an hour before if you can, if you want to watch the fireworks from up there. And
right, and you don't want to be taking those stairs. You could, but
you have to check in, though. I don't
right.
even know. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could check in and take the stairs up. What is it, 15 flights, something like that? So, you don't want to be doing that. And, that bar, I think, during the day, I've never done it during the day. I've only done it in the evening for the incredible views. It's probably a lot more relaxing during the day. At night, it does tend to be a bit crazy, but it is beautifully themed. It has this incredible concept art of the monorail behind the bar, a huge thing, and some other concept art around the bar area. And then there's a huge patio, outdoor, just sort of standing area. Are there seats out there at all? I'm not sure.
I think if they are, they're propped up against the wall, not so much towards the front of the viewing area.
Right, so then everybody kind of lines up against the railing of the wall there and watches the fireworks. They pipe in the music. Same thing with California Grill. Both spots, they'll pipe in the music so that you can get the full experience of the fireworks from there. And it's just, like Gina was just saying, it's a great experience, a different perspective on everything, and just beautiful.
I love the mid-century modern decor. It looking directly into Space Mountain, I've always felt that the Contemporary and Space Mountain have the same aesthetic, like that mid-century Tomorrowland, the 1950s version of what the future will look like, and especially the way that the bar is curved. It's in keeping with the architecture of the building, but then they also have this beautiful private booth where they have illuminated images of early renderings of Tomorrowland, and that just blew me away. I just think it's a really cool spot. It
is, and this is every once in a while this happens where don't take me 100%, but I believe I just read this recently that concept art of the monorail behind or somewhere there's a drawing done by Bob Gurr, vehicle design specialist, that he actually took the liberty of signing.
Oh, cool.
I think it was the one behind the bar. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, so you can actually see his signature there that he did recently, which is for something he probably drew 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's fun. So I kind of took yours over. Do you have another one? I have one or two more that I wanted to go through, but...
Yeah, so I think another one that I've always wanted to go to that we have never been to together, at least, is back to Hollywood Studios. What's interesting about Hollywood Studios is that it used to be a completely different park growing up, but now things have certainly changed, things have evolved, tastes have evolved, but I just hope that they never lose that true Hollywood essence, you know, that 1940s, 1950s, the Hollywood that will be
the Hollywood that never was but always will be.
Right. So I just love that. I love sci-fi. I love all of those elements. And so the Tune-In Lounge is a place I've never been before.
All right. So here's the thing about Tune-In Lounge. It should be great. It should be a perfect spot. The problem is that they use it for overflow for primetime check-in.
Oh.
So I think that if you go the right time of day, it's probably great. The last time I went to primetime, we checked in. They had like kind of a backed up wait, and we went in there. I think we just grabbed a drink with my family, and you know, it's the kind of environment where it's fine for waiting for your table for 10 minutes, but you've got like just people just shuffling in and out and loud, and you've got angry kids like climbing all over the chairs and stuff like that. So I think if you maybe on a less crowded time or night, I don't want to judge this 100%, it's terrible, but I think that if you get to see the bar, it's probably good.
Right. And that's how I'd want to experience it, of course.
But there's also like tables outside the bar that's where you're kind of just like, the idea of like, a bunch of people like standing right behind you.
Yeah, we deal with that living in Boston all the we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Remember restaurants?
Yeah. But the reason I have it on my list is because I haven't actually spent a good amount of time looking at the decor in there.
Yeah.
And they have a really cool cocktail menu that is unique to that bar.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they have what's called a peanut butter and jelly smoothie. Mm-hmm. And I'm very intrigued by that. Of course, that's one of his main food groups.
It's peanut butter, yeah.
But I would even say like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
Just like Buddy the Elf, like peanut butter and jelly is a food group. So I would love to try that. And I'm sure they have other really cool, like a Cosmo, some funky 1950s themed cocktail. I'm all about the theme and the experience. And I think if we timed it right, it would be really fun.
Yep. And a pro tip for Tune-In Lounge as well, some of the other lounges we're talking about that are connected to a restaurant, for instance, the California Grill Lounge, you can order off the restaurant's menu sitting at the bar. So if you manage to get a seat at that bar, you can order off the primetime menu. Same thing for California Grill. You can order off that menu. We've done this at Citricoast a few times at the Grand Floridian, which I had on my list. I don't have a lot to say about that because it is kind of just a bar attached to Citricoast restaurant, but you can order off that menu, which is excellent. So just a pro tip.
Yep.
All right, so the next one I'm going to say is one we haven't been to in a while, but I want to get back to, and it's Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar.
Yeah.
At Disney Springs. I want to make sure Disney Springs gets some representation here because it's become pretty, bar-ish centric. I mean, not that there's a lot of straight-up bars like this one, but they're definitely like the late-night culture, right? Has taken a big step there. So for those that aren't in the know, Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar is loosely themed after Indiana Jones. Jock Lindsay being the pilot that picks up Indy in the first scene when he's being chased by the natives there after after the whole boulder thing. He gets chased by the natives. He jumps into the plane, and Jock Lindsay is his pilot there, and it's a very obscure reference. I'm not sure how they landed on this, but
landed.
Nice. But so all of the drinks and all the food items, not all, but a lot of them have some sort of reference to Indiana Jones, and the decor is really on the level of a Nomad Lounge or a Trader Sam's even, where there's just these artifacts everywhere. You feel like you're in an airport hangar, and it's just a really fun experience. They have a lot of cocktails, a lot of interesting cocktails, and beers and wines and things too. So you can really get adventurous there. Again, a pun, but like that's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to give you this adventurous sort of bar experience. And
I would add too that in keeping with that theme, that storyline, when you look at the menu, there's a narrative there.
Yeah.
You open it, it's a leather-bound book, very similar to Nomad's Lounge. It's got that like that like lambskin feel up, the pages, and then each of the menu items there's a little anecdote about a character or an adventure they had or an animal or something.
It's done as if Jock Lindsay wrote the menu, and he'll be like, this is the story of how I discovered this drink or this thing or whatever. They have a few good food items as well, so you can easily make a dinner out of that as well. So, and I think you can get it if you're not over 21 too, which is good. I think that's all I have to say about that. So what's up next for you? Do you have anything left in your list?
Yeah, so I would say the final spot that came to mind for me, getting out of Disney Springs and into Disney's Yacht Club.
I had this one too. I think I did.
Tommy and I, when we have a Yachtsman Steakhouse reservation, we are very excited for that and oftentimes find ourselves showing up early. So we will have a drink at Cruise Cup. And I like that little bar because the whole theme of the resort is New England, and I grew up in this Boston area. And so the Cruise Cup is very in keeping with Massachusetts and all of the crew regattas that we have here on the Charles River every October. So I just feel like, I don't know, it feels like a college bar to me, but not in like a scuzzy way, in like a elegant blonde wood, evergreen color theme. Like it's just a fun little spot, and it's exciting because the anticipation of you're about to eat a beautiful steak dinner is what gives me the nostalgia behind going there. But there is another lounge that recently was renovated that we have not yet been to. We've been to lunch, but we haven't sat at the bar, and that is Ale and Compass. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so again, keeps with the New England theme. It's always nice to fly 1,000 miles to go to a bar you can go to in your back. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's really, but it's fun because it's like again, sort of how we were saying that Hollywood Studios is the Hollywood that never was and always will be. This is the New England that never was but always will be, right? It gives you the New England flair with like this elegance. It doesn't really exist everywhere.
Yeah,
you know?
Like the nautical is just turned up.
Yeah. So Ale and Compass, again, a newer place, but it's just another nice, relaxing sort of lobby bar and restaurant, but it's off a lobby enough to where you feel like you're secluded. And yeah, I don't know, like Gina said, we haven't been to the bar yet, but we had a really nice lunch there with some hearty New England style food. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just kind of fits that middle ground between like going to a really fancy steakhouse like Lake Yachtsman right down the hall, but, you know, also getting a burger and fries somewhere is not always like super satisfying. So this is a great in-between option because it's hearty, home style food, but with a certain elegance and nautical flair that gives it a nice environment too.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll finish with my last one that I wrote down, and it's funny that we haven't touched on Epcot yet because there are just so many little places to grab a drink. There are like Gina said, the beer carts. There usually is some kind of festival going on. And so it is a lot more of that Fast and Furious style of bars there. So there's not a whole lot of spots where you can just take it easy and be secluded from the madness that can sometimes take over World Showcase or Epcot in general. But one that we did discover a while back is Tutto Gusto, the wine bar.
Oh my goodness.
At Italy, at the Italy Pavilion. And you would walk by and not even know it's there at all. And I regret even saying this on a podcast because now you will know it's there. And we've only been there once. It was actually our first Disney date was at Tutto Gusto Wine Bar. And again, if you don't want to make reservations or you don't, want to deal with the hassle of being in a crowded, crazy restaurant where they're kind of hustling you at the door as fast as possible, this is a great spot to grab a glass of wine or a bottle of wine or a couple bottles of wine and a few either appetizers, or they have some pasta dishes and good food that you can just sort of saunter up and get. There's no reservations. It's just first come, first serve. And quite often, again, it's not that crowded. It is dark in a, literal sense. It is, candlelit almost. It feels like that's all that they have is candlelight. And I'd say it's one of the more romantic places you can go to on property, especially in a park. I can't think of anywhere else in a park that can be that sort of, besides a restaurant, right? And even most of the restaurants, though, are not super romantic, right?
Yeah, I would say it's intimate because it's certainly smaller, especially when you're considering the other two Italian restaurants in that pavilion. But But I will say too, it's very authentic. Just in the way it looks, and certainly the menu, of course. But I spent a semester abroad, and I lived in Rome, but I also traveled all around. And the way that these little small restaurants, like you just happen upon it on a street, they have the glass case with all of the offerings that you can select from. And of course, they have the menu as well, but you just kind of find yourself at a high top table, and all of a sudden you're being served this delicious pasta. And I felt transported when I was in there, and I'm shocked that we haven't been in since. We should go check it out.
We're usually so focused on a festival.
Right,
I think
exactly.
that's the thing, right? And it's like, oh, we want to try the festival stuff. Let's not, I don't want to say waste, but let's not, take our eye off that, basically.
Yeah,
and
right.
To a gusto.
Maximize our festival time.
We will have to go and at least get a glass of wine and an appetizer or something, because it is a great recluse, is that the word? Whatever the word is, from relief from the craziness of the Epcot festivals.
Right.
All right, so is there any honorable mentions you want to just rattle off and say a quick word about or anything? I had a couple more that I didn't have a ton to say, but I just wanted to give them a mention. Anything you missed?
I had a shorter list because I just did what came to mind. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and list the others?
Just a few I wanted to mention quickly. One being the staying in Epcot, the Rose and Crown pub is fun. It gives
I love that.
A little bit of that JellyRolls experience with the piano player and British pub feel to it. So that's a good spot, especially if there's not a festival going on and you want to grab something.
And they have cider too, which is kind of hard to find when you're not in a festival. Sometimes booths will have the cider, but to get a nice pint of cider, I love that.
Yeah. I had Wine Bar George at Disney Springs. We kind of popped in there this wedding trip as well.
I'd like to
we need
go
to
there.
Go back. Yeah. I wanted to give a shout out to the Animal Kingdom walk-up bars.
Yes.
Which, if you want to grab a drink there is the Safari Bar, I believe is the name of the one near Expedition Everest. There's the Yak and Yeti walk-up bar, and then there's the Dawa bar in front of Tusker House.
I love that.
Yeah, and these are like cool little spots where there's usually a unique beverages on tap, or like beers, or they have like some cool cocktails that they've come up with that are themed. So
yeah, and the Dawa bar I feel like is the perfect little oasis, because that area tends to get pretty hot.
Oasis,
yes. That area tends to get pretty hot because there's just less shade available. So to be under a shady piece of architecture and feel like they have the fans going, and if you have a nice ice cold drink, like that sounds beautiful.
It's usually like some live entertainment
right
nearby that you can sort of observe. So yeah, that's a great spot. Yeah, we got, and Hollywood Studios has a couple of those as well. But those are what I had. Oh, one more. Tambu Lounge at Polynesian. If Trader Sam's is full up and there's a long wait, you can always go up to the Tambu Lounge next to Ohana. And it's not the most lavish, great bar ever, but it is I like that you're in the lobby of the Polynesian there. So it's a nice spot to just take a beat, grab a drink, and relax.
Yeah. Boy, Hollywood Studios has really become the lounge park.
Yeah. It bums me out that they didn't build that Tower of Terror lounge. That would have really sealed it as like, cool. This is,
I wonder if they didn't because maybe copyright had something to do with it. Who knows? But also, that area is used for events. And so maybe they figured that would interfere with their ability to put on after-hours events, which if you've ever seen any photos of weddings or corporate events from the Tower of Terror courtyard, it's magnificent.
Super cool.
The only issue is you can't have anything until the park closes, so you're looking at like a 10 p.m. event.
Right.
At the earliest.
And then done on a lot of these events, I'm sure you have to pay, but they'll run the ride for you.
Oh yeah, they call it a ride mix-in. We'll have to do a Disney Weddings podcast at one point because everything I learned through planning a Disney wedding, you can make it anything you want.
They will do,
and they will do it.
If you'll write the check, they'll make it happen. So
yes. All magic comes at a price.
Yeah.
And anyone who's ever seen the Once Upon a Time show, when I first heard that, I was like, yep. That is a euphemism for Walt Disney World.
Sure is. All right, well, that's it's gonna about wrap it up. I had a few here that I need to try. I'll rattle those off, I guess. I've never been to La Cava de Tequila.
Yep, that's always so packed. And
yeah, we're not my head in.
We're not about to like take shots at the bar. It's just
that's not
really us.
Raglan Road I haven't been to.
Yep.
Abracadabra I've walked through but never sat there and enjoyed a drink.
Yep.
Same thing with the Edison.
I'd love to go there.
So those are my list for ones to try. So we'll have to try a few of those in the next year or two and maybe do a part 2 with all the stuff we've done since this episode.
Sounds great.
All right, so that'll wrap it up for this episode of Everything We Love About Disney. Gina, where can folks find and follow you on the Disney socials?
Yeah, so I am Will Run for Disney. It's willrunfordisney.com. I can be found on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And you can find the Diz Quiz on those platforms as well, at the Diz Quiz. And then if you are a YouTube watcher or listener, you can find us on podcast services. If you're a podcast listener, then head over to YouTube as well. So whichever kind of platform works for you. The podcast is available on Apple, on Google, on Spotify, on most of them. And if there's one that you'd like it to be on and it's not on there yet, let me know and I'll see what I can do. And then if you are a podcast listener, leaving a little rating and review on the podcast app really does help with the show. So we appreciate you listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. And until next time, I've been Tommy T.
I'm Gina.
We will see you real soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.